Welcome to the Whiskey Burn. My name's Jay and this is my Whiskey Den. This week it's all about hosting a whiskey tasting event, some preparation and actually delivering it. So grab yourself your favourite whiskey. This one is the Glen Moray Phoenix Rising. So you've decided to hold a whiskey tasting event. And that's what happened with me. So a year ago in the local village we have a wine shop, an independent wine shop, and he does wine tasting. And I said, have you ever thought of doing whiskey? Because you sell 3 or 4 very independent, low-key whiskies. And he said to me, I haven't, but let's talk about it. Time went by, time flew on, life got in the way. Whiskey drinking got in the way. Oh, so caramel. And we got together and I said, let's do a beginner's guide to whiskey. How about we look at the 6 regions? Some of you will say there's 5, some say 6. I went with the 6. It's an extra bottle. It means we get an extra shot to flavour and taste and try. So he said fine. He got in touch with his whiskey suppliers. What you could do is find somewhere, speak to them about who's going to buy the whiskey that everyone tastes. Because if you're doing it, what are you getting out of it? So he charged £30 a head. Maximum people you could have is 16 people. And he charged £30 a head. And I thought that was well worth it. £30. You got a welcome shot. So I took some of the best selling scotch in Scotland, the famous grouse. So everyone had some of that. Didn't go down overly well. Then we went on to the regions. So you got 6 shots there, so that's 7 in total now. And we had a very special one at the end that you cannot buy. And someone had bought a barrel in Scotland years ago, bottled it, but couldn't sell it without all the tax. It's ridiculous. So we all had that at the end. So you got 8 shots plus a little miniature, a Glenfarclas. Then on top of that, you got a little whiskey glass to take home as well, all for £30, and it was about 2.5 hours worth of an evening, and it was very nice. There was spit buckets, because some people just want to taste in the mouth and spit out, not necessarily swallow, plus some people might not like what they're tasting and want to spit it out. So you've got to take that into consideration. Do you have ice buckets? Do you have water jugs? Why not? Have a separate glass for water. Water jug, swill it out, fresh glass, move on to the next one. Do you have someone there helping you? So the owner of the shop very kindly went round and did the pourings. Now, instead of free pouring as such, managed to get a stopper on the top, and it was a 15mm pour. Now you think 15 mils, is that a bit tight? Actually turns out it was okay. It was just enough people to get a smell, people to air it, and people to try it. So there you go, that's the start. That's the bulk of what you need. But how do you fill 2.5, 3 hours worth of content apart from just drinky? Because it's quite easy to drinky. So what I did was found out which 6 whiskies were being supplied. So I could research each of them. Now I had heard of them, there were some good ones there. But to start with, I did a bit of a welcome. I've got cards here. These are just prompts to help me, guide me. Remember, this was my first one, and if this is your first one, you need to be able to stand there, especially if you're charging. You need to be able to stand there, know what you're talking about. You might get nervous, therefore you might get brain fog. You might just sit there and go, nice that. Anyone else? But what you want to do is sound professional, sound like you know what you're talking about. So I made some notes. Bit of a welcome, talking about the 6 areas we are going to cover tonight. So we went Highlands, Lowlands, Speyside, Campbelltown Islands and Islay. Particularly in that order, start with the sort of fruitiest and move the way down to the peaty, earthy type ones. So Islands and Islay. Also decided to chuck in some statistics in there because I find that quite enjoyable personally. Not everyone does, but some people like to know some facts about whiskey. Anything you can chuck in there, I think, is a winner. So talked about the fact that some people think there's 5 regions. The Whisky Association says there's 5 regions, but the islands sort of say, no, we're our own. We're not part of Highlands. I don't know. It's probably going to be an ongoing battle, that one. But it creates a talking point. You know, you want to interact with people. So when I gave them the famous glass, I said, does anyone have a guess what this is? I know the bottle's on the side, but everyone have a guess? And I've got a few yeses. I said, anyone like it? I said, no, yeah, no. There you go. So interaction, because it makes them feel relaxed, it makes you feel relaxed, means you can move on. So we then went to some information. This is a beginner's guide. Does anyone tell me what 3 ingredients make up whiskey? Had some guesses. Had some good guesses. How many? I said how many? And I had 4, 8, 10, 3, 6, 9. Someone said 3. Winner you. Does anyone know what they are? And I'm just fully interacting as they're sat there with their first opening scotch. Other things, stats about best-selling whiskey in the UK, best-selling whiskey in the world, those sort of facts. People love it. They were like, oh, right, I didn't know that. So, bit of facts, things about what year the regions were made up. Anyone have a guess? It was the Highlands and Lowlands, and there's a bit of a history there as to why. People seem to find that quite interesting. But get on to the tasting. What are we tasting? So I then went through what we've got. The 6 bottles in front of us in the right order. I'll tell you what we had. We had the Glenfarclas 10, the Glenkinchie 12, the Cragganmore 12, which I've done a tasting here. Very nice. Glen Scotia double cask, Talisker 10, and the Bamore 12. So it was quite a nice arrangement, quite a nice selection there. And what I could see was people were starting to empty their glasses because they were sipping it. Let's get on to the proper tasting. So first up, we went Highlands. So what I did here was I said the expected notes from the Highlands are X, Y, Z, robust, fruity, floral. Nothing wrong with looking at your notes. You get it right. Yes, if you can remember everything, then you're on to a winner, because then people will go, oh, wow, knows everything. But, it's a beginner's guide. It's to help people. As much as you can remember is better, but don't stress about it. Don't worry about it. Bit of information about the Highlands, how many distilleries roughly there are, some of the famous brands, etc. Then we're talking about the Glenfarclas, talk about that. So I said it was built in 1836, blah, 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 a little bit of history, a little bit. Because what you don't want to do is go on and on and on, and people are sitting there going, I'm parched, I want to try some whiskey. That is good. Then I've got the tasting notes for the Glenfarclas written down here as well. What do people get? Instead of telling them what they get, you've told them what the Highlands area is like. Don't tell them what the bottle's about. Ask them, what is anyone, first of all, I said you've got tasting areas. You've got your lips, front of your tongue, top of the mouth, back of the mouth, and then you finish. So what are you getting? What do you get on the nose? Let it air a bit. Really nice, that's a beautiful drink. What is everyone getting? Interaction again. It does kill a little bit of time, which isn't a bad thing. It's not too bad. Bit of interaction is great. So I'm asking them, what do they smell? And we haven't even tasted this yet. And people are going, I'm getting this. And then I say, okay, so the bottle, Glenfarclas, they say in here you should be getting X, Y, Z. And you can read that off the card because that is from the makers. Okay? And then you obviously do your tasting. You sort of like swill it around and have a bit of a taste. Where's everyone? Anyone get it on the lips? Anyone get it on the tongue? And then we go forward. Anyone got a finish? Anyone still feeling that after they swallowed? Whether they get a long finish, a medium finish, a short finish. It's great because people, you get that. Okay, what do you get? And we talk about it. And people talk amongst themselves a bit. But you've got to remember, you're in charge of the room. So you need to bring people back into the room. And once you've done that one, he says, so everyone like this one? Everyone not like that one? We'll vote of hands. It was great. Right, wash your glass out. We are moving on to Lowlands. Again, same formula. Right, this is the Lowlands. Lowlands tasting region, they taste a bit like XYZ. Bit of history about the Lowlands. Did you know that the famous brands are... Anyone know what Glen simply means? Because we had the Glenkinchie 12. It's award-winning. Little facts. Find some little nuggets. They're so easy to find. But use your knowledge of whiskey as well. And sort of go, right, this one. Tell people what you're getting. one thing I was very, very keen on saying to everyone, everyone's opinion matters, because you might like it, you might not. You might get tasting on the top of your mouth, you might get it on the tongue. Doesn't matter. What do I say on this podcast? Everyone has an opinion, and everyone's opinion counts. This is my opinion on specific whiskies. So, same routine with that. Then we moved on to Speyside. Again, tell everyone to wash their glass out. Everyone has time. Which one? I think when we got to the Speyside one, where we had the Cragganmore 12, after that I said to everyone, right, let's have a little vote. Whose favourites? I went down the line. Why not? Get people involved. Don't rush the evening. At one point, I think after we did the Speyside, I looked at the clock and I thought, I've only been here an hour and 10 minutes. Blimey, we're on the third one here. I felt like we were rushing. It took about 2.5 hours in total, and the more people were drinking, the more relaxed they came. So, on to Campbelltown, where the Glen Scotia double cask, again, in Campbelltown. Find some facts about it. Interesting facts. The most expensive miniature is a Campbelltown Whisky, Springbank. And then I've got a stat about the miniature. You can watch one of the whiskey burns I did about miniatures that was not so long back. Let's launch it. Again, interaction, asking people, but remember, if everyone starts getting loud and talking, you just back in the room. Remember, we're here because I'm teaching you a little bit about whiskey. You'll always get that one person who seems to know everything, or at least they think they know everything, but don't worry about that. You've got to deal with that. That will happen everywhere. Then we went on to the islands, particularly the Isle of Skye. Now this one took a little longer because I had to explain about the different islands, the fact that the region call themselves islands, and I think the Whisky Association officially says they're part of the Highlands. Each their own. I like to think of it as its own region. You probably have your own opinion as well, which is absolutely fine. Again, talk through the stereotypical tasting notes of a of an island's whiskey. Then a bit of facts about it, some famous brands from it, and any little nuggets that you can find, people will love. They love that stuff. And they do. I can say that from experience because I have done one of these tastings. Then you go on to the bottle. We had the Talisker 10, absolute gem. Bit peaty for some. Very interesting story. There was a gentleman there and he said, I got given 3 bottles of this over time and I gave all 3 away. And that's before he had a sip. And I said, try it, just try it. And he went, no. So I said to him, you know what you need to do? Get a couple of ice cubes, drop that in, give it a good swirl. What do I always say? Like a bit of ice. There we go. And I said to him, just swirl it. Don't have any, I'll come back to you. Involved a bit more of the other room. Some people go, cannot stand this stuff. Some people go, oh, this is amazing. And I turned around and said, are you still swirling? Yeah. A few minutes passed and I said, sniff it. It's completely changed. I said, right. Taste it. And he did. He was like, oh, wow, I wish I never gave my bottles away. He said, that's absolutely amazing. It's completely transformed the taste. Remember I did that to ice or not to ice? And I'll tell you something, absolute proof of the pudding, this gentleman said the ice changed a whiskey that he did not like into a whiskey that he liked just because he put ice in it. Absolutely buzzing. Then we went to Islay, then explained that this is an island, all on its own, it's its own region. Bit of history as to why it's not part of the islands group, etc, etc. You can go on in depth in lots of stuff, but you've got to remember, you need to keep people's attention. So, bit of history about Islay and what you expect from Islay, and we had the Bumor. The Bumor. I asked people how they pronounce this and held the bottle up, and people were going, Bowmore, and someone went, Bumor? I went, Bumor, yes. Or as one person said, Bummore. I was like, not quite. But anyway, have a taste. What's everyone getting? And I'll tell you something. It was which Bumor was it? It was the Bumor 12. And it was absolutely stunning. So that's it. That's it. Then you get to the end. You say, thanks for coming. chat about it. What do you think? Then I said to everyone, you know, what was your favourite out of all of these 6? You know, people, that one, that one, that one, that one. And then we brought out the bottle of that we'd been asked. Oh, someone said, can you see what people think of this? And we had some of that, passed that round, and you know, it's all relaxed, all calm. People wanting to talk to you about it. People talking to other people about whiskey, and oh, we're off to this distillery and we're going to that distillery. So there was people there who were more experienced than beginners. But it doesn't matter. They're there because they want to sit at a whiskey tasting event. They want to try different whiskies, try something new, try to learn a bit. Because some people just like to drink it and they'll go out and they'll buy what they like, and that's great. But then you come to something like that, they might have one there, they think, that's really nice. I'm going to try that and I'm going to buy it. After the event, I helped tidy it up with the owner of the shop, put a few things away, talked about how it went. He obviously kept the whiskey because his shop had bought the whiskey. He was making his money back by people there buying the whiskey. We're planning on doing some more, and I'm hoping to record one, and I'll try and cut it down into the best parts because you don't want to sit and watch 2.5 hours of a whiskey tasting event. So I'll try and cut it down to probably about half an hour. But think about it. It's not the hardest. If you know quite a bit about whiskey or a fair bit about whiskey, try it out on your friends. Come round, get them. You know, we did regions, split the regions up. We're now talking about doing the beginner's whiskey guide, tasting evening, again, because it sold out in an hour. And talking about doing it again because it was popular and there was people on a queue waiting if people couldn't turn up. And then we're thinking of doing each region, probably combining a couple, so probably do maybe 4 or 5. Then you got Irish, then you got UK, you got Japan. You could do world whiskies and then you could split them up. You see where I'm going with this? It just goes on and on and on. So that's a rough guide to preparing. Make sure you're prepared, because what you don't do is just stand there and go, right, yeah, this is a bottle of Bowmore 12. What does it say on the back? Oh, it says they've been around since 18 something, and do a bit of research. It doesn't take that long to research, but include your knowledge. So you've got your knowledge, put it with research, practice it. I practiced it on the mother-in-law. She found it quite funny. And that's it. Be confident. Stand there and be confident. Because if you're questioning yourself by going, I think that the people aren't going to respect you and think that person knows what they're talking about. And that's it. People are there for a good time. As long as you give them good time and they think they've got value for money, they'll come again. And on that note, I hope you come again. Subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Let me know if you're going to host a whiskey tasting evening. It's great fun. It is, once you get into it, you relax and it's great fun. And have one of these before you start. Why not? Anyway, that's it for this week. I've got something excellent to show you next week that I got for my birthday from my family. I cannot wait to show you. When I saw it, it's the most bizarre thing I ever saw. It will become a permanent fixture here. But anyway, that's it for this week. Enjoy your whiskey, and I'll catch you next week on the Whiskey Burn. Sláinte.